There comes a moment in every person's life where a silent but powerful realization dawns, that no one is coming to push you forward, to open the right doors, or to hand you permission. The only one standing between where you are and where you could be, is you. Not chance. Not talent. Not perfect timing. Just a decision. And that decision doesn't begin with feeling ready. It begins with acting as if you already are. The Stoics understood this truth centuries ago. Epictetus taught that we don't control the world, only our response to it. That our power doesn't lie in the hands of fate, but in our mindset. And that mindset, if properly cultivated, could carry us further than any external advantage. This is where we begin, with the decision to act as if you're already the best version of yourself. Not for the sake of ego. Not for show. But because your future depends on it. Most people wait. They wait for confidence to come, for skills to be mastered, for stars to align. But if you're waiting for a clear signal that now is the time, here it is. Now is the time. You don't need to be the best yet. You just need to act like it. And by doing so, you become it. This is not self-delusion. It's transformation through discipline. Through identity. Think of a world-class athlete walking into their first competition. They're not yet a champion. But they train, they show up, they prepare, and most importantly, they carry themselves as if they already belong there. That posture, that belief, changes everything. Their breath slows. Their mind focuses. They don't shrink under pressure, they rise through it. Now imagine if you did the same in your life. What if you stepped into your next challenge not with hesitation, but with steady conviction? What if you faced your next obstacle not with self-doubt, but with poise, like someone who's been here before? Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors in history, wrote daily reminders to himself, not to seek praise or feel superior, but to live with virtue, to do the right thing, and to meet each day with purpose. He didn't consider himself perfect, nor above error. He considered himself responsible, for his thoughts, his actions, his choices. That is the kind of quiet strength we're aiming for. Not arrogance, but grounded clarity. Not fake bravado, but an internal compass set toward excellence. This mindset is available to anyone willing to step into it. It doesn't matter where you are in life right now, struggling, doubting, overwhelmed. What matters is how you carry yourself from this moment forward. The Stoics didn't wait to feel brave before acting bravely. They acted, and in doing so, became brave. When you choose to act as if you're the best, you're not pretending. You're training. You're aligning yourself with who you want to become, and letting your behavior shape your identity. It's a practice, not a performance. Confidence doesn't fall from the sky. It grows from consistency. From showing up, even when you feel like an imposter. From holding yourself to a higher standard, even when no one's watching. And the shift doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes the most powerful transformation happens quietly. You start waking up earlier. You start speaking with more clarity. You stop over-explaining yourself. You make decisions with less hesitation. You start walking differently, not because you're trying to impress, but because you finally decided to respect the version of you that you're becoming. This is what the Stoics meant by self-mastery. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When life hands you delay, doubt, rejection, or pain, you don't fold. You respond with strength. With reason. With presence. And what happens over time is that others begin to notice. Not because you're louder or flashier, but because there's something steady about you. You're not thrown off by every mood. You don't chase approval. You're grounded. That's what acting like the best really looks like. But let's be clear. This isn't about faking perfection. The Stoics would be the first to remind you that the journey toward excellence is messy. You will fail. You will fall short. You will meet parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But it's not about never slipping, it's about always returning. Returning to discipline. To effort. To truth. When Marcus Aurelius faltered, he didn't spiral. He wrote. He reflected. He reminded himself of his principles and moved forward. That's what we're called to do too. So what does it mean, practically, to act as if you're the best? It means asking better questions. What would the best version of me do right now? In this meeting, in this conflict, in this moment of doubt, what would they say? How would they move? What would they let go of? It means sharpening your habits. Eating like someone who respects their body. Speaking like someone who trusts their voice. Working like someone who's building something that matters. It means leading yourself, even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. Because if your identity only exists when you're being praised or validated, it's not stable, it's borrowed. The Stoics understood this deeply. Real strength is internal. It doesn't perform. It simply is. So start today. Choose one area of your life, just one, and decide, what would it look like to act as if I'm the best here? Then commit. Quietly. Repeatedly. With the calm intensity of someone who has nothing to prove but everything to become. That's how change begins, not with the world treating you differently, but with you deciding that your standards will never be the same again. And as we'll explore next, this mindset doesn't just change how you view yourself, it changes how you face setbacks, how you build resilience, and how you lead others. Because acting as if you're the best is not the end. It's the beginning of mastery. There's a moment, quiet and unremarkable at first glance, when something inside you clicks, and you realize that excellence is not something you stumble into, but something you train yourself into. And in that moment, everything changes. This is what the Stoics lived by. They didn't rely on emotion to dictate their growth. They relied on intention. They didn't chase perfection, they pursued consistency. And this is precisely what acting as if you're the best is about, living each day as if your future depends on what you choose right now. Because it does. Let's be honest, this idea might feel uncomfortable at first. But I'm not the best, you might think. I'm barely getting by. And that's valid. Most of us carry doubts, insecurities, inner battles that make it feel absurd to imagine ourselves at the top of our game. But the Stoics didn't wait to feel like sages before they practiced wisdom. They lived the philosophy, even when it was inconvenient. Even when it hurt. Even when the emotions told them to run. So no, you don't have to be the best to act like the best. That's the whole point. Acting like the best is about leading yourself as if you've already become who you want to be, not pretending you're flawless, but choosing to align with a higher version of yourself, even when that feels far away. And here's the paradox, the more you act like the best, the closer you become to it. This isn't wishful thinking. It's behavioral psychology. It's habit science. And it's been embedded in Stoic teachings for over 2,000 years. Seneca once wrote, "We become what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. The Stoics knew that the path to mastery was not built in grand moments, but in small, quiet choices repeated day after day after day. Think about how that works in your life. You decide today that you'll stop waiting for motivation to work out, you'll train anyway. That one choice creates momentum. Tomorrow it gets easier. A week from now it becomes normal. A month later, you don't even recognize the version of you that used to skip workouts. That's how identity is forged, by action, not intention. Acting as if you're the best means putting in the work before you're recognized for it. It means showing up to your goals with the discipline of someone who knows exactly what they're building, even if no one else sees it yet. The Stoics called this living in accordance with nature. To live with purpose. To align actions with reason, not impulse. And to recognize that your only true possession is your ability to choose well in the present moment. You don't wait for the outside world to confirm your value. You demonstrate it. Consistently. Not for applause, but because excellence is your standard, not your strategy. Now, does that mean you'll always feel confident? Absolutely not. Confidence is fragile when it's built on image. But when it's built on action, on knowing that you've earned the right to believe in yourself, it becomes unshakable. So here's the shift: don't aim to feel confident. Aim to act confidently. The Stoics taught that virtue is not an emotion, it's a choice. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's what you do in the presence of it. Take a job interview, for example. If you walk in doubting your worth, downplaying your skills, and hoping they don't ask hard questions, you're already defeated. But if you walk in with poise, clarity, and the mindset that you are exactly the kind of person they need, everything shifts. Your answers are more precise. Your voice is steadier. You lead the conversation rather than react to it. Even if you don't land the job, you've trained your nervous system, your voice, and your energy to reflect a higher standard. And that practice carries into the next challenge. This is what acting like the best gives you: resilience, repetition, results. And it doesn't stop at work. In your relationships, acting like the best means showing up as the most grounded version of yourself. You don't lash out when misunderstood, you listen. You don't manipulate, you speak with clarity. You don't chase, you lead with presence. That's how you create respect. That's how you model strength, not by force, but by stability. This mindset touches every part of your life. In your health, it means moving like someone who values their body. You hydrate before you're thirsty. You rest before you burn out. You eat to fuel, not to numb. In your habits, it means eliminating excuses. You don't need perfect conditions, you need a consistent decision. One small improvement each day compounds into transformation over time. And here's the deeper truth: acting as if you're the best doesn't mean you deny your flaws, it means you face them. The Stoics were relentless in self-examination. Marcus Aurelius began many of his journal entries with reflections on where he had failed, where he could improve. But he didn't wallow. He used that awareness as fuel to return stronger the next day. You don't need to pretend your weaknesses don't exist. You need to stop letting them define you. Your discipline will fix what your doubt can't. Acting like the best means looking your patterns in the eye and saying, "I've outgrown this." And then, living like it. This is the essence of growth. Not perfection, but direction. Not avoiding mistakes, but refusing to stay the same. There's a kind of integrity that builds when you start showing up like this. You start trusting yourself more. Your words match your actions. Your habits reflect your goals. Your presence shifts, not because you've changed overnight, but because you're no longer hiding behind uncertainty. You're living in alignment. The Stoics called this eudaimonia, a flourishing life. Not a life without hardship, but a life where your character is stronger than your circumstances. A life where you are guided by principles, not pushed around by emotions or opinions. And as this mindset takes root, you realize something powerful: you don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to be the best for the world around you. For your family. Your friends. Your craft. Your future self. Acting like the best is not about status. It's about service. And in the next section, we'll explore how this mindset doesn't just change you, it starts to change the people around you. Because when you raise your standards, you raise the standards of everyone you touch. You don't just inspire. You lead. Something fascinating happens when you begin to carry yourself with quiet confidence. The people around you feel it, often before you say a word. Your presence speaks volumes, not because you're putting on a show, but because your energy is grounded. This is the ripple effect of self-mastery. When you raise your standards, you lift the room. And that's exactly what the Stoics believed was our duty, not just to better ourselves, but to better the world around us. The Stoic concept of sympathia speaks to this interconnectedness. We are not isolated individuals moving through life alone, we are part of a vast human network. Every thought, word, and action we take has the power to influence others. And when you begin to live as if you're the best version of yourself, your choices become catalysts for others to do the same. Think about someone in your life who leads with quiet strength. They don't demand attention. They don't dominate the conversation. But when they speak, you listen. When they act, they do so with care and intention. That kind of leadership doesn't come from ego, it comes from alignment. From discipline. From the inner decision to live with excellence. That's what acting like the best really means, choosing to become a person of impact. You become someone others look to when things are uncertain, not because you have all the answers, but because you know how to stay composed in the storm. You become someone who inspires not by force, but by example. And this kind of influence isn't reserved for public figures or CEOs. It begins in the most intimate circles, your home, your friendships, your team. When you live with intention, when you speak with integrity, and when you make choices that reflect your values, you give those around you permission to do the same. The Stoics didn't believe in competition the way our modern world does. Their aim wasn't to beat others, but to be better, for the sake of virtue, not victory. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to serve the common good, to use his power not for personal gain, but to uphold justice and truth. You can bring that same mindset into your life today. By choosing not to react impulsively in difficult moments. By refusing to gossip when it's easy. By taking responsibility even when it's hard. That is how you lead. Acting like the best isn't just about how you feel, it's about how you show up when it matters. It's about consistency over charisma. Character over charm. Substance over style. Let's say someone wrongs you, speaks behind your back, disrespects your work. The reactive mind wants revenge, or at least a sharp reply. But the Stoic mind pauses. It asks, what does the best version of me do here? Maybe it's silence. Maybe it's grace. Maybe it's firm clarity, but always guided by principle, never pride. That's how you lead yourself first. And self-leadership is the only form of leadership that truly lasts. Because people don't follow words. They follow energy. They follow consistency. They follow those who do hard things with grace, who admit when they're wrong, who grow openly. And ironically, the more you embrace humility, the more powerful your influence becomes. Let's be clear, acting like the best doesn't mean walking around with a forced smile or pretending everything is okay when it's not. It means showing up honestly, but with poise. Owning your struggles, but not collapsing under them. It's real, raw strength. The kind that inspires others because it's been earned, not borrowed. Seneca believed that the wise person is a model of character. Not because they are flawless, but because they choose progress over comfort. They keep showing up, especially on the days they don't feel like it. Imagine what would happen if more people lived this way. If instead of comparing, we focused on contributing. If instead of chasing status, we practiced service. If instead of judging others' journeys, we refined our own. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes contagious. You speak less, but with more intention. You listen more, and with more presence. You stop broadcasting your value, and begin embodying it. And people notice. Not because you seek validation, but because truth is magnetic. Discipline is attractive. Clarity is powerful. And when you begin to live like the best version of yourself, not loudly, but consistently, you start to raise the collective standard. This is the invisible leadership that shapes families, teams, and cultures. It's the teacher who sees potential in a student no one else does. It's the parent who models patience when frustration would be easier. It's the friend who holds space when others just give advice. These small, quiet moments of self-mastery ripple out far beyond what you can see. Because every action, every breath of discipline, every decision to rise instead of react, is shaping more than just your life. It's shaping how others see what's possible. And this is perhaps the greatest irony of acting as if you're the best. It's not about you. It starts with you, yes. But it doesn't end there. Your discipline becomes someone else's wake-up call. Your composure becomes someone else's calm. Your resilience becomes someone else's permission to try again. That's the Stoic way. You don't preach. You live. And by living, you teach. Now, this all sounds noble. But let's not forget, living this way is hard. You will fail. You will forget your standards. You will speak from ego when you meant to speak from wisdom. You will mess up. But that's part of the process. You're not trying to be flawless, you're training to be faithful. To your values. To your vision. To your calling. When the Stoics failed, they didn't sink into shame. They reflected, adjusted, and returned stronger. That's the path. Not straight. Not clean. But forward. You do not rise by being perfect. You rise by being consistent. By holding the line. By returning to the version of yourself that you know you're capable of being, even when you slip. And as you keep returning, you'll start to feel it. Your internal standards tighten. Your tolerance for mediocrity fades. Your hunger for excellence sharpens. And that version of you, the one you've been chasing, stops feeling like a dream and starts feeling like who you are. Because that's what this mindset does. It doesn't just elevate your actions. It reshapes your identity. In the next section, we'll talk about one of the most powerful teachers along this path, failure. And why acting as if you're the best doesn't protect you from failure, but prepares you to rise from it. Because what stands in the way, becomes the way. Failure. The word alone can feel heavy. It brings back moments of regret, shame, and disappointment. But for the Stoics, failure wasn't a dead end. It was a doorway. A teacher. A forge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And in those few words, he revealed the Stoic blueprint for resilience, that the very thing that blocks your path is the thing that strengthens you, if you choose to face it the right way. So what happens when you act like the best, and still fail? That's when the mindset is tested. That's when the practice becomes real. You see, acting like the best isn't a protective shield. It doesn't make you immune to mistakes or setbacks. What it does is change how you move through them. Instead of retreating in self-pity, you recalibrate. Instead of collapsing into old habits, you reflect. Instead of quitting, you recommit, with better eyes, stronger hands, and clearer direction. This is where true transformation happens. Not in the moments when things go right, but in the moments when they absolutely don't. It's easy to carry yourself with confidence when everything is flowing. But what about when the deal falls through? When the relationship ends? When your best effort doesn't deliver the result? That's when you either drop the mask, or discover your strength. The Stoics never pretended failure didn't hurt. They simply refused to be defined by it. Seneca believed that failure wasn't a sign of weakness, but a moment to practice wisdom. And that wisdom begins with this truth: you are not your results. You are your responses. Let that sink in. You are not your failed launch. You are not your missed deadline. You are not your broken promise or your past version. You are how you respond, what you learn, how you grow, what you choose to do next. This is the most empowering shift you can make, to stop seeing failure as evidence that you're not good enough, and start seeing it as the training ground for the version of you who is. Because guess what? The best in any field, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, philosophers, they all fail. Constantly. But they don't stay there. They mine failure for insight. They extract lessons. They refine. And they return. Over and over again. So when you fail, and you will, your job is not to collapse. It's to pause. To ask, what did this teach me? Where did I misstep? What can I do differently next time? And then you act on the answer. That's acting like the best. Not pretending the fall didn't happen, but rising wiser each time it does. And this doesn't just apply to big moments. It applies to the micro moments too. The mornings you hit snooze on your commitments. The conversations where you snapped when you meant to stay calm. The days you numbed out instead of showing up. These are small failures, but they matter. They're opportunities. And if you're paying attention, they become the most honest mirror you'll ever face. The Stoics journal daily to reflect on their actions, not to shame themselves, but to sharpen themselves. To review their words and choices and ask, did I live today like the person I'm becoming? That question is a compass. One that always points you back to the path, even when you stray from it. And here's another thing the Stoics understood: excellence is not a one-time act. It's a daily practice. It's forged in repetition. And repetition only works if you stay in the arena, especially after defeat. So don't run from failure. Run toward the lesson. Let your pain become wisdom. Let your setback become fuel. Let your disappointment become discipline. This is how acting like the best prepares you for life, not just the moments that feel good, but the ones that crush you, stretch you, challenge your very identity. And here's the beauty: the more you practice this, the more resilient you become. And not just outwardly, internally. Your mindset becomes more flexible. Your identity becomes more stable. Your peace becomes less dependent on circumstances. You stop needing everything to go right in order to feel right. You begin to realize that your strength isn't in controlling the world, but in controlling yourself. And that changes everything. It changes how you approach your goals, not as wishes, but as commitments. It changes how you view others, not as threats, but as fellow travelers. It changes how you carry yourself, not with arrogance, but with authority. Because you've earned it. And that's the key word here: earned. Anyone can pretend to be confident. Anyone can talk a big game. But the person who's acted with intention, failed with grace, and returned with resolve, that person walks differently. They don't shout their strength. They embody it. And when they walk into a room, the room adjusts. Because real power is silent. Real mastery doesn't perform. It just is. This is what acting as if you're the best ultimately gives you, not an illusion of greatness, but the foundation to build it. So now the question becomes, how do you make this mindset last? The Stoics would say, make it a daily practice. Each morning, ask yourself, how would the best version of me approach this day? Each night, reflect, did I live with discipline, with courage, with presence? And each time you fall short, because you will, return. Not with shame, but with strength. Because it's not about never slipping. It's about always returning. Day by day. Step by step. Choice by choice. You don't need to fake it. You need to practice it. Until it becomes who you are. Until excellence is not something you chase, but something you live. And as you keep living this way, you'll discover the real reward. It's not praise. It's not success. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that you showed up with integrity. That you respected your potential. That you honored the gift of your life with the discipline it deserves. That is the Stoic path. That is what it means to act as if you're the best. And the best part? It's available to you, every single day. So take it. Start now. Step up. Not because you have to, but because you can.